to deal with rather than
Oh,
send it
yeah.
to you, that's all, yeah. I agree, money.
I'm fine. Go, Joe, don't worry.
All
Really.
right, first item they do is to call the meeting to order.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Accept the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, it's your floor, I guess. You asked for the meeting and
Actually, the board asked for the meeting with us to talk about the Turkey Brown project.
oh, I thought, you asked for the meeting, okay.
Do you want to start off with that particular project?
Yeah, let's do that one.
Okay. The Turkey Brown project, which you may recall the presentation that they put on probably a month ago now, back in October. They did a PowerPoint presentation. And
Yeah.
they're presently working on evaluating the Gate School for potential reuse as a new town hall. And they've made a presentation to the Public Buildings Commission, and they made the presentation, as I mentioned, to the Board of Selectmen of their draft study, which what they've come up to date. So they've presented 4 schemes for the reuse of Gates as a potential town hall building, which everyone is familiar with from the 2 presentations. They're at a point now where they're looking for direction from the town on how to proceed with that. Under their contract, they are in a position now where they will take two out of the 4 schemes, which need to be selected. The 2 schemes need to be selected by the town. They'll take those 2 schemes and develop cost estimates, construction cost estimates for those 2 schemes. Then they'll finish their report. They'll do a final write-up, summarize the design options, finalize the report, which we've seen draft copies of, and then they'll present the final report to the town. So they're at a standstill at the moment, waiting for direction from the town on how to move forward with this particular project.
And who just let me break in. They told you that they're at a standstill? Is that?
They are.
They told you that?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to them, so.
Yeah.
So they told you that they're waiting for some direction from the town?
That's correct. That's correct.
So we need to evaluate the plans and tell them which 2 to proceed on?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Now, with that in mind, I'd just like to mention, I understand that the Public Facilities Master Plan Steering Committee is going to also be looking at the town hall, possibly as part of this charge.
Not as it relates to this report, though.
Yeah, not, this report is specifically starting to get into the building itself.
Mhm.
The master plan steering committee, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is much more of a strategic overview, as in, what potential things can we do to make the town a better place in the sense of the emergency building, the emergency response center combination sort of thing. Does that make sense? Generally speaking, where could it potentially go? Not anything at all about bricks and mortar of the thing at all. That's downstream.
Mm-hmm.
Steering committee is also going to be looking at some of that sort of thing, like does it make sense from the town's point of view to put some of those units in there? So there does need to be some interfacing.
Mm.
But the steering committee is just that. It's a steering committee overlooking at the larger scale picture. It's got nothing to do with bricks and mortar.
And
Communication and feedback.
Yeah, it has no authority. It's just communication.
They're not going to be involved in the actual plans.
Mhm.
They're going to be spilling it out to the public and getting feedback from the public and kind of facilitating communication.
right,
And getting feedback from the groups that they represent
Mhm.
as to what those groups would like to see in there, as far as they're concerned.
which could include the town hall as part of their.
Yeah, but that would be, yeah, that, it would.
But in the general sense.
And right, because what I'm just throwing out on the table is, we've got an architectural team that's ready to finish a report to reuse Gates as a town hall. We've got another committee that's going to be looking at maybe at a bigger picture level, but they'll be looking at the town hall in some fashion as well. Is it going to be premature to pick two options now and have the architects go ahead and finish and finalize the report, and have the other group come back later with other ideas for a town hall?
Something different?
Yeah.
The two different, well,
That's, I mean,
oh,
that's not the purpose.
No.
The purpose of the steering committee is what Tony said, is just to be a conduit for information. They are not to revisit decisions made by town officials, but to, you know, help and assist to do the build-out of how we move forward. And that was very clear in the charge.
So they're not gonna come back and say, I think you should move this over here, this over there.
No,
We may
no.
get feedback on
Yeah.
that, which may cause us to change our opinion.
Before we go to final
But
design, yeah.
They're not, it's not another set of eyes looking at something.
Okay, they're not doing anything that's redundant with what this
No.
architect's
No.
doing?
no,
Okay.
no,
Very careful
no.
about that.
I mean,
would-
I think I need to clarify that this piece that Durkee Brown is doing on the programming of Town Hall is less than $14,000. And that $14,000 also included the full structural analysis of the rest, sort of the non-original part of Gates. So with the little piece they had over, I asked them to program to just give us sort of an idea, like could all the things the board's talked about putting in Gates actually even fit there? What does it look like with or without the C-wing? Those kinds of things. But this Durkee Brown contract is never intended to be a final, you know, this is it, run with it. It's to start to show people to begin the dialogue. So you're not bound by it, the board's not bound by it, but it's a thumbnail to go to the next step. And again, it's only a very, very small piece, like I said, probably $4,500 just to do that programming piece.
So is the Durkee piece really more for like an information seeking type of thing?
Yes,
So like let's get
to
an idea
start-
of how much
yeah.
this costs and what this actually looks like, and so that we have
Absolutely.
that information for both the steering committee and for things.
Right,
that-
so we can start to have conversations with people. It's not cast in stone. Again, I mean, that provided I think four different scenarios, maybe three.
Four, yeah.
Right, and so that's what it's for.
They may point out that a certain department tells them that they need more room or less
Yeah.
room, you know what I mean, something like that, and that's the purpose of
So this
it.
is more of a feasibility, like
They're-
this is even
they're more-
possible.
Exactly what it is.
They're
Yeah.
more of advocates for different groups. And then
Well,
the,
they're looking at parking, they're looking, you know, we gave them an idea, and we wanted to see, is it doable in this building? So they said, okay, here's your idea, will it work? So they may have come back and said, you gave us 10 units that you want in there, and only 7 will fit. That may have been the answer. Or this doesn't work because of this dynamic, or there's not enough parking, you gotta get rid of the C-wing, you know, those are the types of things. It's certainly not a final plan, it's just a,
No way.
you know, conceptually, does it work? Because if it doesn't work, then the whole plan is,
Because remember, their first part, as I understand, is just looking at the central structure of it. And then, as Tricia said, we expanded a bit because there's all that other stuff in there. You know, all the other wings and the building in the back and all that sort of thing. So.
I'm not 100% familiar with all of the items that will go into the MSBA feasibility study, but will they also be looking at the building and not for a reuse, but for potential of repurposing it? And like, does it make sense to move forward with this architect and say, oh, go ahead and give us the prices on this if the MSBA feasibility study may come in and say, wait a second, we're going to actually keep this a school, or, I mean, I know that's not really what people
Well,
No,
want.
it's
but we had a
hypothetically, you could.
we had a conversation with the school department that we anticipate saving some money in the feasibility study because a lot of that work's already been done. We have a full structural analysis of the whole building. We have a full analysis, in addition to that, of what it would do to retrofit the building in terms of all systems and operations like roof, windows, boiler, HVAC, all that from the Amoresco study. So we are going to provide all that information to the feasibility study folks, and we hope to have some cost efficiencies there.
I would say it's a pretty sure bet that the study will not come back saying refurbish Gate School.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost an absolute given. That won't happen. They're going to suggest a new school somewhere. Because, you know, refurbishing Gates would just be, as I think the superintendent said, putting the 2012 school system, or 2014 school system in a 1917 building, you know, no matter what you did as far as refurbishing it still. So I don't see that happening, although it's always a possibility.
And the other thing that the MSBA is doing is looking at the entire educational system of the entire town, the entire educational model. Because if they're gonna be ponying up X tens of millions of dollars for us to build a school, we wanna make sure that we're feeding into it properly and we're feeding out of it properly. So they're looking at it from, I mean, look at it from the state's point of view. Some town comes up to them and say, hey, give us 40 million bucks to build a new school. They wanna make sure that the local bumpkins at the school level in the town are doing the right thing, and they're not really just trying to build something else different. So they're looking at it from the expenditure at the state level to make sure it's conforming to state guidelines, that our school system is structured, not building-wise, but it's structured, keeping in mind modern educational models. Like, is there the right number of grades in the middle school? Do we have the right number of elementary schools feeding, or are we over elementary school or under elementary school? They might come back, for example, I've heard, and I'm not hinting at anything, I'm just repeating what someone else told me. They might come back with, you know what, your high school would make a real nice middle school. And so instead of you guys coming forward with a middle school, why don't you guys start talking about a new high school somewhere separate, and we would use the current high school for middle school. Now, that's a pretty outlandish idea, but that's the level of the
That's the scope.
overview that they're looking at. Right?
All of that is irrelevant to what's before us this evening.
Well, I'm answering the question I was asked.
But all of what we're discussing about schools is irrelevant to what we're asked to do.
No, sir.
You're asking about the central school. You're not asking about schools. You're asking whether any one of these particular schemes of the four should be looked at in terms of how much they cost at some time. That's what this function is.
Well, that means we're talking about the whole big picture. That's,
I think she asked a very good question.
If you're talking, Tony, about this, and we have to make a decision on
Which
Yeah,
which
that's-
plan?
That's
I think
what
that's what
this is
Tony's
all about
referring
this
to.
evening. That's
then
my
we will
understanding.
put it on a future agenda, and we'll,
why don't you recommend? Why don't you send, if you guys have opinions on which ones are more likely to,
How long do you anticipate, how long
I'm sorry,
before,
can you name again?
Tony D'Onofrio,
Oh, thank you, that's right.
how long before you think that this is all going to come to fruition?
I mean, the whole big plan?
Yeah, well, you got to do this, you have to have the school plan. If you don't have the school
Yeah,
plan,
so the whole
you're not
big-
going to do
So the whole
this.
big plan.
Yes,
I think, what are they saying,
well,
2015?
the quickest would be 4 years to get the school built.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, there's a whole stepping stones of, okay, if we get a school built, you know, you gotta do, you'll probably do the safety center first, because you can do that simultaneously with the school, and you gotta look at displacement and in terms of what'll go. But all of this obviously goes before the town first, so they have to pass
5
the
years?
monetary issue to do it.
5 years?
if you're talking 5 years, anything that you select here is going to change, guaranteed. No matter what you do here, it's going to change.
No, I mean, but on one hand, we have one person saying, you gotta do this, they want to pick a plan, and you're inferring, I think, don't bother picking one because it's,
That's correct.
well, I think you guys should get together and decide what you want to, you know, what you're gonna recommend. I
Well,
mean,
we are not I don't think we're the board that's going to recommend necessarily which one of these you
yeah,
select.
I think Tony just suggested, we would like to see you recommend.
It was our understanding the Board of Selectmen were going to make the selection.
We'll do it, fine, we'll do it by ourselves.
No, you're absolutely right, we will.
If you guys want
But we would
input-
love, we'd love.
You
to
want
do that.
input,
We
make-
want input, we need all the help, well, probably don't need to tell you guys this, we need all the help we can get. We would love your feedback and love your input on this. You know, your point is a good one, that whatever's gonna happen 5 years from now is gonna be changing from now. If we don't take that first step forward, we're not going anywhere.
Well, we have someone who has said, here's 4 different schemes that you can do. Now, whether they're going to remain that way 5 years from now is questionable. And producing a price that's going to be viable at this time is not of any value,
But-
unless they project the cost for 5 years.
Certainly.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, but it gives us a ballpark range to know what we're dealing with here. If you want to do this and they come back and say it's $2 million to do it, or $22 million to do it, then it gives us a sense of where we're working with. And then the next estimate would be, okay, it's not going to be done for 5 years, and we should put a
You can put an
5%
escalation.
inflation on it, and, you know, it gives us, I mean, that's the first step. The first step is to see, well, what's it going to cost to do this?
I mean, if we want to be negative, I mean.
It's not being negative.
No, but if we want to be negative, and, I mean, what I heard you saying was, none of this is worth it because we can't project 5 years in the future. This plan will go nowhere, it never will go nowhere, and if we just can't do
Well,
that.
yes, it will go, because the school is the driving factor. This is not.
Let me bring this back again just for a second. We would like, I think I heard the board say, if you guys want to review these and come back with suggestions as to your top 2 out of the 4 to us and reasons why, I think that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've glanced at them, but this is not my expertise. This is far more in your folks' expertise. I'd be really interested if, I mean, one answer would be, you know, it's all schematic, as we just, you know, said earlier. There's really no significant difference that you guys can see. Or on the other hand, you might say, you know, all 4 of them just would work, or some, anywhere in the middle. Maybe 3 of them are clearly just not non-starters, and one of them comes out. And I think that would be really valuable for us just to have, even at this initial baby step forward on it. And, you know, back to your point, which I thought was a really good one, is, yeah, I mean, we do have, and you were saying the same thing, I mean, the schools are driving this. It's by far the biggest price tag figure. It's by far the largest match we're ever going to get from the state in terms of when we look at all the various components. So that is absolutely driving it. And that's why, again, back to your point, you know, what does that study entail? And for the state to be doing its due diligence is going to be looking at our entire educational model and da. And they're going to come back and, you know, Joe's predicted, and I think we all share this, that they're going to come back with, you need a new school. In all likelihood, they're going to be saying you need a new middle school. And they're also going to recommend, or I think have a couple listings of places it could go, or maybe have one particular place that it goes. And then we can really start moving it together. We would have a rough idea of what, based on your work and our interpretations of your work and our own interpretations of that, as to the general schematic idea of what, you know, could or couldn't work. In other words, no way you guys are going to get all those departments in there. Or you guys are going to get all those departments in there and the place is still going to be half empty. What else do you want to do? Right? Those sorts of things. And then we'll start being able to move the chess pieces around and then find the paired funding for the emergency station and some of these other things, and then build it all through, as Tony says, through town approval or not, and take it from there. We got to start somewhere. That's how it's all going to kind of.
I mean, we're already 14 days into the 270 MSBA window, okay? So the school has to go to MSBA within 9 months, and the town, on the results of what the feasibility study says. So that's 14 days minus 9 months, okay? So that's this summer. So at this, you know, so then we'll know exactly if, you know, what the model's going to look like in terms of new school rehabilitation and where it's going to be located. But as soon as that begins to happen, this is going to concurrently kick in at the same time. We're also doing design and engineering for the new public safety complex. Out of those 4, if you've looked at them closely, 2 of them probably aren't even in the mix, because along with your commission's expertise in terms of building and, you know, what buildings need to function, I have to look at it, and the board has to look at it from an administrative point of view, where there was some suggestions, I think, of where the offices go and how that would work in terms of flow that conceptually might, you know, be nice on a piece of paper, but in terms of reality just won't work. And I think the third scenario that they gave, one of the things we wanted to do when we gave them feedback was create a very distinctive separation between the municipal offices and the Council on Aging piece. So we want the Council on Aging to have that separate wing that makes them feel like they're in a space entirely on their own, And under one of those plans, I think you'll see,
Might have
you'd
been
never
D.
even know there was a council on aging there. There's an elevator into the town hall piece, but the rest of it is that feeling of, you know, we have our own space, and there isn't going to be traffic or follow-through to that space. Even though they're connected, it's going to be completely separated. And we wanted to make sure, I think, when we gave them additional feedback, that there was enough square footage. We wanted to give them additional footage in the council on aging. But then the C wing, you know, is it in? Is it out? You know, that's the kind of thing I think that the board is asking the commission to say, other than it being really ugly, it's 17,000 square feet, which adds to the master footprint. And we see the steering committee is sort of overlaying your work and feedback to say, is there anything else that's not in this plan that maybe we need? You know, a pool, or is it too much already and we need to take 3 departments out of that? Because the council on aging needs to be bigger, or the recreation should be over here. Those are the kinds of things, but this is just what it is. It's a very rough thumbnail for the short money to do that, so we can begin the conversation. We'll save money from the structural analysis, we'll save money from the ESCO that's done, but we're still, whatever that building's going to be, and we think it's not going to be a middle school, we'll have to do further design and engineering that's much more fully vetted. But, so, you know, regardless of what the timetable is or escalators, this is just a snapshot of time for us to get, you know, the i's dotted and the t's crossed over the next, you know, 12 to 24 months.
So if I understand that this is really, like I said this earlier, just more like informational purposes. This is sort of a stepping stone to give everybody this like extra piece of information so that the steering committee, as they continue to do, or start to do their work, and then as the town is making decisions, everyone at least has that idea of like, all right, well, if we do this and we go with one of these schemes, it's going to be X millions of dollars. Whether or not that is the real number, it's a stepping stone.
Right, remember, all of this was in place for 18 months before, I mean, the school feasibility went from 0 to 60 in like 4 weeks. All right, we found out we could get in the queue, we had a town meeting, we appropriated the money. All this had been awarded and was being done before we even talked about getting in the queue for MSBA. So, and so that's, I think, what we need to keep focus on.
So the desire with these plans isn't to, I understand that the board would like us to take a look at it and give some recommendations on what we think may be feasible or not feasible. But my understanding is we're not going to start making changes to these. You don't want our board to start reinventing the wheel, moving around office locations and spaces on these plans. You just want us to take the plans as is and take a look at those, and then come up with what we think are the top 2 to suggest to you. And if you agree, then it goes back to the architect and they wrap it up. They wrap up their
Plus
report.
any glaring things that
Yeah,
you see.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, yeah.
You know, if you say,
If
look,
this-
this
yeah.
is crazy, you can't have this next to this, or there's clearly not enough parking, or there's clearly too much, you know, any big picture things that you see, but I don't think you should say, I think accounting should be next to the treasurer's office,
Right.
and, you know, that sort
Right,
of
that
stuff.
work's been done, yeah.
And, you know, Rick brought up a good point. I think regardless of which one of the 4 plans we pick, it's all gonna cost about the same. You know, I don't think we're gonna say, okay, well, plan 1 is the $10 million plan, and plan 4 is a $30 million plan. I'm gonna guess they're all gonna be somewhere in some sort of close proximity. I mean, you're just putting up walls, and if you gotta fix the HVAC, you gotta do it.
The ones where they're lopping off the old carriage house, the C-wing, those will probably relatively be in the same ballpark. Then you'll find the more expensive one to be the one where they're renovating the C-wing.
Right, yeah. But the other thing is, if I may, don't feel like you have to just narrow it down to 2. I mean, I'd just be interested, like I said earlier, if for some reason it's 0 for 4, or for some reason one of them's, you know, clearly there, we really want your input. We're not saying, we're not trying to micromanage your expertise here, come up with 2. If it falls out, the 2 of them are great and fine, but if it falls out, that one is really, even if one's not perfect, it's nothing that's perfect, right? But, you know, something like this is what you envision. 1, 2, 3, I just want the results. I don't care, there's no magic number for us.
It sounds like conceptually, it sounds like maybe you do one with the C-wing, and one without the C-wing, so you can get some sort of.
That's a good one.
In a comparison.
Interesting idea.
Okay, that clears that up.
Any other questions on that aspect of it?
Any other? No, okay.
How about just a time frame? How long do you guys think would?
We have a meeting on the 13th. We can pick it up during that meeting and take a look at it.
So sometime in January, February, you get back to us?
Probably January, we can get back to you on it.
Perfect. Okay.
And is the architect, Trish, do you know, is the architect under any deadline contractually?
No, he's waiting on us. He sends me a gentle reminder. I mean, what we just got 2 weeks ago was a bound copy of the structural, the original, just structural. I don't think there's any programming in it. And I created a website to put that up so folks can look at it, because people have been asking us. It's sort of bifurcated because there's 2 funding sources, and the initial funding source was from CPC, so that only looks at the original wing, and so there's part of that, but then there's the rest of the report that does the rest of the structural analysis, and that's really more helpful to people, but I can only do CPC wants to put that part on their website, so there's a B part, B complex, and then the rest. So CPC will have the B complex part up on their website. I think I sent it to the chair today. But we have a website that has that, and then the steering committee charge, the members of the steering committee. So we can start to use that to populate it. So if folks have questions and want information, it's right there.
Another thing that I at least would like you to look at too, in addition to the physical building itself, it's just sort of a broad view of, not a traffic engineering study by any way, shape, or form, but we all know that the turning radius in there is all kind of completely, we acknowledge that there's going to need to be a massive rearrangement if we've got a council on aging, it's going to need areas in the back for parking and stuff, but anything you kind of have about the general flow, not necessarily put a road here, put a road there, because that's going to be determined by what is actually where in the building, because some of these things are going to have different entrances. But if you've got general thoughts on what are the sorts of things we should be asking the eventual traffic engineering study, I for one will really benefit from that.
Sure.
And it might not be rocket science, but or anything clamorously new, but it would be new to me at least. So that sort of stuff. But again, sort of from 30,000 feet, at the same level that you're looking at that. Some of those plans might require, if I may say, a tweak of what's going on in terms of traffic flow. Some of those plans might require a 100% completely redo of everything having anything to do with traffic. So I kind of like that woven into any of your comments you might have as well.
Sure.
The second part of it is the larger project, the old MSBA committee. And I passed around the committee as it was outlined a couple of years ago with the Wampatuck School. Certain people have to be on this committee according to MSBA. Does everyone get this now? This is a list of that, a list of those people who, by statute, I believe, should have to be on. Is that correct?
CMR, yeah.
So we start off with that. I went to the Public Buildings Commission a few weeks ago and told them that we would do everything we could to ensure that they had a stake in this committee. We have made one appointment already to this committee. I think the superintendent, if I understand it correctly, is open to another member of the building commission being put on?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
he'd say he'd work,
So
he wants to work with the committee
Yeah,
and
we do
and
that. Another one.
representation.
This is the MSBA.
Yeah, this is the
committee,
MSBA.
not the steering committee.
no, that's, we'll finish with that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this is the MSBA. I don't think, there's nothing been done on that yet. I don't believe any meetings have been called or anything. It's, I think John McCarthy, the superintendent, is kind of driving this right now. but we'll talk to him, Tricia talked to him after I had the meeting with you people, and asked him about his willingness to expand this a bit, should we say. And he was more than willing to do that. In fact, he thought it was a good idea, as we did. Go ahead.
As far as the MSBA committee goes, our hope was that our entire committee would be on that committee, as far as being the Public Buildings Commission. We had a similar experience with the Wampatuck School when that was under construction. All through design, our committee wasn't involved as a whole, wasn't involved with Wampatuck through design. We got involved during construction phase, as you remember, as a satellite committee, so to speak, to the MSBA committee, which still existed. And there was a lot of miscommunications between the two different committees. There was issues with some of the change orders that were on the project. Again, miscommunication. And it would, I think, be confusing to move forward with this next school proposal still with two committees, having the MSBA committee and then having the separate Public Buildings Commission, because the MSBA committee its lifespan lasts all through design and construction. And so would the Public Buildings Commission, would last all through planning, design, and construction. And there's a redundancy there, and I just foresee some more confusion with communications if we go down that road. Our thought was if we were the nucleus of that committee, having the full board on it, and then you can build around that board with the other members that are proposed on the list. I do believe there's only one member that's required by law from the MSBA. It's a member of the school committee to actually sit on that committee. All the other members are actually just recommended. They're not required by law.
And I think you have a legal opinion that says
Legal
how the
opinion,
committee
yeah.
needs to be constituted.
You do have one. That's just from,
Yeah, there's a legal opinion that suggested that the entire building committee could serve on the school building committee.
And I think that's what Joe represented, that my initial conversation with the superintendent, he was open to that. But to your point about your committee being the nucleus of that committee, I don't read that from the opinion. But I could be wrong.
Do you really think your whole committee has to be on it to be involved?
Yes.
So if the chairperson was on it?
If you, can I interrupt a minute?
When I'm done, you can talk about it. So the chairperson of your committee couldn't be on it and then disseminate information? Because your other committee's going to still be in existence.
It didn't work well last time.
I agree with Ed. I agree with Ed in terms of, and, you know, I've already met with the superintendent because Wampatuck was $2 million and this is $60 million. That we need better interface, I think, on a number of levels on the go forward with that. But that's, you know, like Wampatuck, the board, you know, doesn't have ultimate authority under this building project. You know, the direction's coming from SBA and coming through the school administration as the conduit for that. So I don't, at this point, I don't think any decisions have been made yet, and everything potentially is on the table. But you also have to remember that, you know, we're moving forward on a public safety complex that's going to involve this commission's purview and oversight, and whatever ultimately Gates starts to shake out as well. So there'll be a lot of work for you guys to do.
Used to it.
Used
How many members are on your commission? I know I should know this, but
Five.
5 or 7?
5 plus two
User members.
user members.
Yeah.
And if I can just speak to that for a moment. The school, MSBA, SBAB, whatever they were, SBAB gave up the school business before, oh, Christ, it goes back to the 80s anyway. I think the only thing you had to do with SBAB at that time was do your plans, have your public building committee if you had one. If you didn't, you appointed a local building committee, which I think was done here in Scituate a number of times with the high school back in the 60s, I think it was. And also with other schools, work that was done on the Gates School over the years. And then you went, when you had the plans all done, you went to SBAB and said, how much money are you going to give us? 40%, 50%, or whatever. In Scituate, if you recall, if you were in Scituate at the time, the Public Building Commission or the School Building Commission, U.S. School Building Commissions were appointed by the Board of Selectmen, I believe, to serve on that committee. It was not a public building commission, it was picked to do it. Sometime back, maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, Scituate decided to have a public building commission. The reason for having a public building commission is that you appoint members to that who have some knowledge of construction, who have some knowledge possibly of the types of building you want to do in the town, such as a town hall. Maybe there was a guy who was in town,
Or whatever, yeah.
it doesn't matter. So from the time I've been on the Public Building Commission, which actually goes back to 1982, I think, this committee has done one hell of a lot of work for this town, and it's done a hell of a good job. And I don't think there's anyone here that can say that that's.
Oh, no one's saying anything.
I'm
Okay.
saying that.
Who's even said-
Secondly, at a time, a short time ago, we had two projects going at the same time. The high school and the Jenkins School.
Yeah.
And the Public Building Commission selected the architects or made recommendation for the architect, took both projects through all the construction. And I don't know that anybody has ever said to me, you guys did a lousy job or you did a good job. Didn't matter. We felt that we did a good job. We still feel that we do a good job. Now, because of the problems that the state had with the funding of schools and so forth, they decided to change from their school building authority to the MSBA and put more of the control under that particular body. The thing they neglected to think about was who was going to carry this forth within the town. Is it the man that they appoint as the, what is he called?
The MS of the school building,
The
Designate-
OPM.
the OPM.
The OPM.
The OPM is representing the town, yes, as a single person. We don't know that they do as well as this committee has done. And I know this, not only in this town, but other towns also. And I think that this, having a public building commission in this town, as well as any other town, is probably the best thing that town can do.
Well, I appreciate learning the history of that, because I certainly wasn't in town here in 1981, 82, and some of these other times that you're speaking about. But also, you know, moving forward, I don't care about any, you know, I'm getting the sense there's some underlying issues going on here, and I really don't care about if there's underlying issues or not. I just want to make sure we're able to get the best darn school we can, and get the best rest of the buildings we can, and get the best plan we can that the townspeople will support. The townspeople support it, and we've done a good job marshaling support and coming up with a plan that the town thinks will move us forward. But I think we all agree we need a new school, and we need a new public safety, and a bunch of other things here. So I don't really care about a lot of these other palace intrigues, if they're there or not. I'm getting a sense there might be some, whatever, I don't care about that. So my point here is you know, what can we do? I just read Jim Toomey's you know, legal opinion here, or whatever it is. And he does say, you know, one approach would be for the building commission to act independently. The second, probably more efficient approach would be to have the building commission members serve on the school building committee, which is sort of like what we're talking about here. Either all a year, or 2 a year, or 3, or whatever. I'm not gonna get all hung up on that right now, I'm really not. But I do have some questions, is that, just because I wasn't involved in selecting the committee for this one here. You're right, somebody said, I think, person, I'm gonna take a figure out of you, right? We only need to have one person.
Just a school committee
Yeah,
member.
just a school
Right.
committee. Yeah, but, you know, I'm not gonna not have the superintendent of schools involved in this, I'm not gonna have a whole bunch of these other, we need the school business person, I think, or, there's a whole bunch of other people here. I don't care who we have to have required, we're gonna make sure they're on there, because we need them. Right? Is there a maximum number, leaving aside, asking a regulatory question or a CMR question, is there a maximum number of people that we're allowed to have on
I
this?
don't think so.
I don't think so. I think the
And then-
last quadrant in that sort of lets you have flexibility, but the folks that are there are defined by the CMR for the operation of the MSBA.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right.
those aren't negotiable in terms
Right.
of those folks. You have to have a certified purchasing officer,
Gotcha.
CAO, CEO,
Yeah.
chairman of the
And then-
school committee, chairman of the board.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, I just want to be really careful of, is there might be people that are required and other people that they, recommend. And we lay people might interpret recommend as meaning just recommend, but the state really means, we recommend this, and if we're going to give you $50 million, it might be in your interest to follow our recommendation. So I'm going to defer to people that are more experienced in those sorts of matters, like Tricia and Joe and the superintendent of schools, who can read between the lines on what's recommended and what's not in terms of constituting this pay. So I want to be very, very careful about that aspect as well.
Who, Tricia, as far as the ultimate number on the committee, we know that for the most part, it'll probably be, follow the guidelines of a few years ago, give or take. As far as additional members, would that be the superintendent's come into his purview? I'm not sure we have the authority to.
Yeah, I would, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, a lot of this, we're just sort of sharing information because right now, this is really under the domain of the school administration as far as waiting to get the formal materials from the MSBA and the indications of what the next steps are and moving forward that. And I'm waiting for the Superintendent McCarthy to come to us and say what we need to do next. So he's very familiar with this process, and I think that served us well because we were able to do so much in such a short period of time, given his familiarity. And I also built a school under the new regs, but I think, that's where we are right now, that we have to get more feedback from the school folks as far as what the next steps is and what sort of wiggle room and flexibility we have along these lines.
We will, not speaking for the board, my thought is just that, I think the board fully understands how important the building commission's been over the years and now, and going forward, how greatly needed they will be in these different projects. This is mega bucks. The town has never seen the building that's going to go on in the next 5 years if all this comes to fruit. It's just mind-boggling, and the cost involved in it also. I think we're more than happy to go to the superintendent and tell him of the conversation we had tonight, and tell him of your expertise, and that would be a good idea to include you in the process more than you were in the past, maybe in the Wampatuck, being the most recent. What he will decide as far as numbers, I don't know. I would like to think he'll be very flexible, but I don't know. He might have a That's my thought anyway. I'll just pass it on to anybody else.
I guess I'm confused. Now, Tricia, can the entire group serve, or is Jim saying in this letter, in your opinion, that it cannot?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I don't know the answer. And I don't see anything that precludes it, but again, that's something that we need more direction, I think, from MSBA and the superintendent.
I just have to say, as as a liaison to this group, I sat at those meetings at One Place School, and I got you involved when you first got here, and Joe even helped me out, that this did happen. It was a small project. Tony was very frustrated along with that, this was nothing, that was nothing compared to what we're looking at now. Without repeating everything everyone said, couldn't agree more. You guys have been doing this for a long time. We all have a different background. Clerk of the works, I think that's what yours what was that acronym?
Owner's project manager.
All right, but that's the same, the clerk of the works?
A clerk usually works for an OPM.
All right. Whatever that means.
Yeah,
But they're full-time, but they're only one person. You have
Yeah.
5. You know, you guys are volunteers, but I think the more eyes on it, the better. And I'm not just saying that because you guys are sitting here. You know,
The OPM is actually, in a way, it works for the town because he's selected from a pool of people that the MSBA provides. You can't just pick a person to be. You have to take a pool. It's already been approved by the state.
But the contractor's not hiring him
No.
either.
No. So that's how you get the OPM. And the OPM is essentially somebody that's an intermediary between MSBA and the town, essentially. But it's all controlled by MSBA. I mean, it has really nothing to do with us. Seriously, it's all, but it wasn't at one time. And going beyond that, with all the other building projects you may be having here in town, I heard Patricia say you're talking about a safety center.
Public safety, yeah.
Is that something now that is going to get built? And if it's going to get built, has people already been selected to work on that?
No, that's when we're in the planning stages. This is that's part of the steering, the other committee we're talking about, the steering committee's charge is to oversee and see that sort of stuff. Because getting back to, you know, the other question earlier, if a new school's gonna go here, well, the police station's there, 5%.
I understand that.
So that's that.
But under the town charter, the people who should be involved with that project as well is the public building.
I think I already represented that
Okay,
earlier,
I
right.
just,
Yeah, we already said that, right? That's part of the other stuff.
But I do
We're
want
on board with
to,
that,
I do
100%.
want to clarify one thing Tony said. When that, Mr. D'Onofrio, one of the changes that went in when the SBAB became the MSBA is to create the position of the owner's project manager. And I would respectfully disagree with the characterization that they really just work for MSBA. The town hires them from an approved list from MSBA to ensure they're qualified and certified and outfitted by education and experience in school projects to ensure that's what represented in the contracts with the builder, and everything that's represented that should be done gets to be done. Quantities, all that, to be the town's eyes and ears. That being said, the town has an overlay with the Public Building Commission and the facilities manager to make sure that, you know, the OPM clearly understands where the town is coming from and where the town's needs are. But the reason the OPM position was created as an inherent part of the new MSBA process is to make sure the money being spent is going to what is being spent, the contractor is held to all the rules and regulations, and the construction is done according to what should be done. So if things are added or not added, it's still within the scope of understandably what MSBA has said they'll be reimbursed for and what we said we're going to build. There needs to be oversight and interaction with that OPM, but he's just not a lapdog or she for the MSBA. They are the town's agent. And I just wanted to clarify that.
So back to my earlier things, and following up with Sean and Joe and everybody up here saying, I think, we definitely don't want to have what happened in Wampatuck happen again in terms of we want to enhance the communication, enhance the knowledge base that's involved, and all that sort of thing. I honestly don't care, to be honest with you. If it means all 5 of you are on the school thing, or 2 of you, or 1 of you, or 4 of you, because, first of all, whether you're on a committee or not, in terms of the school committee, whether you're on that or not, you've been appointed to be the building commissioner, and to be involved in helping out the buildings, in the new buildings in town. Whether you're on that committee or not, you would be discharging, you would be doing your duties as members of your commission, whether you're on that commission or not. going to the meetings, attending the meetings, commenting on the meetings and so on. I absolutely get that being a member or not is different, because you get voting rights and all that stuff, and that's very, very important. But whatever the school committee, the school superintendent works out in consultation with various people, honestly, there's 5 of you, or there's 3 of you, or there's 2 of you. I want all 5 of you involved. I expect all 5 of you to be involved, and asking you now for all 5 of you to be involved, wherever you're sitting at the table, because that's what you're appointed for, and that's what we need. And, you know, like Sean and what some of the people are saying here, we want all your help. For one, I'm not gonna get hung up on if there's 2 of you or there's 3 of you. I'm just not gonna spend any time thinking about that, because I think it's counterproductive and kind of a waste of time. Because we want your input, that's the most important. That's just where I am on this. I'm all in favor of it, but I'm not gonna get distracted on all that sort of stuff.
So I think if I could just somewhat summarize what we're doing on this, is that we will contact the superintendent of schools, Tricia and myself, tomorrow, or Monday maybe, and tell them of the meeting, telling how important your input is to this whole project. And the board agrees, I think, that your input is that important. And lobby hard to get, you know, I don't want them to give a number, the whole committee, or as many as we can, I guess, on that committee.
Start high with the whole committee.
Well, that's what I mean, it's that high, and maybe it will be the whole committee, maybe he'll say, fine, welcome, hey, beautiful. And if he does, then,
I'm sorry for jumping in, but at any one night, 1 or 2 of them may not be there, so.
well, yeah, it'll be fine, I mean, and that, if it's the whole committee, that's fine. If it's fine, if it's 3, it's 3, I mean, you know.
And then maybe specify the other 2 as alternates, so then you can speak as an alternate, or if someone's traveling and the other comes in.
Let's work for as many as we can, and then go from there. How does that sound?
Great.
We need your brains.
Anything else?
No, thank you for that.
Nope, we'll do that. I think the board's in
Thank you,
agreement there.
I mean, as Tony was saying, you guys have been doing great work for a long time, and now it's getting like, this is big.
The board's in agreement, I guess, then?
Yes.
I am.
You guys are in agreement?
Yeah.
We have an agreement.
Yep, sounds good.
We have a deal. Light smoke. All right, move to adjourn.
Or I'll move to adjourn.
If there's nothing else, motion been made to adjourn.
Did you want to talk about the steering committee?
No.
You want to wrap that?
The steering committee.
Yeah, the municipal steering committee that Jacqueline's sitting on. We had some discussions about getting more involvement on that as well.
That was addressed, I thought that was already addressed.
What's that,
At the very beginning.
That's what we talked about in the beginning, right? The school steering committee, the master plan.
Unless you got another committee that I don't know
No,
about.
it was that one.
That's the one that we explained was really the communication and feedback system.
Right, and what's our role? Again, I thought we were focusing on just the Durkee Brown project. I see 3 projects. The Durkee Brown project is one where they're looking at this, at the Gates School as a town hall. Then we just talked about the MSBA School Building Committee, and then there's another committee, the steering committee, the Municipal Building Steering Committee.
No, I think you got one too many committees.
No, Jacqueline said, that's what we were talking, you're Jacqueline, right?
Yeah,
That's what we.
the original one that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So the master
So-
plan committee.
Right. So there's a
The town master
member
plan.
of several
That's the
boards
steering
on
committee.
that steering committee,
Mhm.
of which you're one of them. And that's to get feedback and communicate out and keep everyone apprised of where we are in this process.
Okay.
You guys will obviously be involved as your regular committee in the construction of the public safety building, as well as the talk about the
Okay.
Gates building.
All right.
And design thereof. But
Yeah.
that steering committee is truly a steering committee, like, truly, like we said earlier, largest scale strategy for the town.
Mhm.
Strategy for the town.
And Jacqueline will be your liaison to this committee. Member of the committee who would be giving you the feedback as it goes along, you know.
I mean, what I envision is, as we move along, members of the steering committee are going to come to your meetings.
Mhm.
And when you're meeting with various architects or going forward on these various projects, and there's discussions and reviews taking place, they will be in attendance at that meeting as well to, you know, hopefully have you solicit suggestions for them and take that and go out to their respective stakeholders and say, this is what we talked about at the Public Building Commission. This is what we're looking at. What do you think? That's the purpose. It clearly was intended because there's so much in play now that we needed a mechanism for people to be out in the community to let them know what's going on so they don't show up at a town meeting in 2 years and say, what is this? I've never heard of it. Whereas they can go back to the Council on Aging meeting and the library every, month and say, this is what's happening relative to the facilities master plan. The Public Building Commission did this, did that. It has no authority. It's strictly to be a conduit for communication and to provide input in the ultimate, how many chairs or how big square footage or things like that, or, representing the seniors. I don't think this would work. I suggest you might want to look at that as a helpful thing. So, the whole community is involved in this plan, and it's not seen as being done in a vacuum by all these siloed committees, that it's a group effort so they can inform everybody, so everybody knows what's going on.
Is it envisioned that that committee will be meeting with us periodically to let us know what's going on? I know Jacqueline's going to be sitting in at the meetings, but is there a sense that the entire committee will meet with us, our full committee?
Absolutely. I mean, that's certainly when your purview to ask to meet with them or have them attend your meetings. I mean,
Or if you attend
again,
meetings.
there's structures in place for building and development in the town. This is a group in order to solicit feedback and tell us, what they are hearing that they believe will and will not work, or if you folks come up with an idea and don't know, you may think it's fantastic and we might think it's fantastic, they can provide that feedback and say, well, we went out in the community and we think maybe something like this might work. So there's a real exchange of information that whatever we do is reflective of the people in the community that are going to, A, pay for it, hopefully, and B, actually use the facilities once they're built. And I think that's really, really important in this process because there's so much going on.
In addition to pay for it and use it once it's built, it also had anything to vote for it. Right? So vote for it / pay for it. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And we got to communicate and get the whole communities involved in all these different constituencies. So that's the overall purpose.
I look at the steering committee as a group of people that could report to the public buildings as giving you the correct means, like Tricia said. I'm just going to use Council on Aging, for example, that they might require. These are the people that are going to come to you and say, they need 8,000 square feet, they need a kitchen, they need this. Someone from Recreation is going to say, okay, we would like to be in this part of the building overlooking the fields, things like that.
Right.
This committee, when it's done, will have, done their job correctly, so it'll be used, supported, and it will work. That's probably the most important.
Yeah, so the end users have an actual say, and, so we're not saying, oh, we think we know what seniors want.
That's right.
We're going to say, we met with the seniors, and this is what we know they want.
Right. This will work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the rec department can say, we've been in the high school,
Right.
we found some things that worked pretty cool, we found some stuff that was just awful. And for the last 10 years, we've been saying, wouldn't it be nice if? That's if you bring that to the table and that in mind.
Very good.
New motion to adjourn.
Motion been made? Yeah,
I have to say something.
I'm afraid you do.
Can you
What
please-
can I say?
Can you please identify yourself?
Ann Burbine, Pennycrest Road. The steering committee has to involve the stakeholders, but the stakeholders are people like myself, the business owners, the residents. This has a huge price tag that you all need to somehow, some way, sell to this community that this is the highest and the best use of our money. And it also, I think, needs to be sold in such a way, forgive me, it's not all about the schools. And because that is the sense that so many of us, I've paid my children, I've had the best and the worst. I'm a proponent of public education. I'm a former public school teacher. I am pro-education, but I'm also pro-community. I'm pro about this town and this community, and what I really do not want to see is an us versus them scenario. And I think that you all have to work really, really hard to ensure that that doesn't happen. That whatever we go forward with, there will be disagreements. People will be unhappy. You cannot please everyone. That somehow, some way, we can come to a consensus of the best way to go forward. That is inclusive, that's not about just one particular group. It's about all of us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You make a good point. I just want, this gets back to the kind of central theme of some of these other committees we were talking about. The schools, yeah, sorry, Joe.
No.
You know, the school is certainly the biggest price tag, but but factoring that in, the point that Ms. Burbine makes, I think, is a really good one. Earlier, we were talking about the public safety building. 6, 7 years ago, remember the whole Minot fire station issue? I mean, that was like front page of the news, and we're getting banged on it every single day. That issue's gone away. Has the need gone away? No. But it just means people aren't talking about it as much, but the need is still there. So the public safety buildings component, which is sort of like the other one of the other many other aspects that Ann's talking about, is really, really important. It was going to decrease the response time, which is obviously good for Minot and the West End. So we're not just going to be trying to replicate the level that we have now on these various things, like rec and so on. We're trying to do better. And so if we do point out and we ensure that seniors are going to be better off, public safety is going to be better off, rec's going to be better off, the whole town, schools, obviously, is better off. And then I think we've got a fighting chance of pulling this off. And that's why we're going to need everybody like yourselves in there. That's why I'm not getting all hung up on some of these other issues. We've got to keep our eye on the prize here. It's making this town run better and how to do it across the board. This is an opportunity here for a whole spectrum of things. So there's been a motion and a second.
There has been a motion and a second.
Further discussion, Rick?
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Yes, you did.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
all.
Thank you very much for your time.
Congratulations. That is great.
Tough little-
Maybe tomorrow?
Yeah.
The week is not ending yet.